Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Kiara with Home Slice Adulting, and today we are going to review season 3 episode 8 of Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. Just a quick disclaimer, I know a lot of people feel like these shows are scripted and none of it is real despite it being reality TV, but just for the purposes of all my reviews, let's just assume that everything in the show is real. So let's get started with Ray J and Princess. So Ray J is making good on his promise to be 5,000% involved because his wedding guest list is 5,000 times larger than Princess's. And Princess, it seemed like she was struggling to come up with people to come to the wedding. Like her list was on a steno pad and like wasn't all the way down. She had question marks next to people's names. And here comes Ray J and he's inviting everybody he's ever met ever. His dentist, his barber, probably the doctor that cut, the umbilical cord when he was born. He's inviting a whole bunch of people. And Princess, for whatever reason, I've heard a lot of people say that Princess does not have a lot of friends. And I was surprised that she managed to managed to get two of them together to come to the dress fitting, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But something about Princess is like she doesn't have the right type of social skills to maintain relationships, which is kind of evident from the way she talks about her dad. But I mean, let's think about how in the first season of Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, Princess and Tierra were back and forth, of course, because, over Ray J. And then in the second season, she was very quick to open up to Tierra and eventually become friends with her, go on outings with her. And people who so quickly forget those types of battles and scuffles, they really have a hard time making friends and keeping friends. So it's not surprising to me that her list is so much smaller. But you know what? Whatever people don't have the right type of relationship with their parents, my heart always goes out to them, because I have a really good relationship with my mom and a good relationship with my dad. And even though it's not a nuclear family like Ray J's with, husband, wife, and 2 children, it's hard for him to understand what Princess is going through because of the lack of her relationship with her dad. But I will say Ray J has a new attitude and he's doing a lot better as far as the wedding is going. And so later on, when Princess is trying on dresses for the wedding, she mentions in the confessional that her mom wasn't there because she lived far away. Now, if y'all are spending upper, $250,000 to $300,000 on this wedding, like Ray J mentioned in like the previous episodes, why couldn't you purchase a ticket for your mom to come out for the dress fitting? I don't understand that. Like, my mom would drop everything to be there, and if she has a good relationship with her mom, like she said, my mom could live in Timbuktu and she would make it for the dress fitting. So anyways, I didn't understand that. But the fact that Ray J, I thought it was interesting that Ray J knew that that dress that she was wearing was not the right dress, the one that she was wearing when he first came in. He was like, that's not the dress, no way. But I got a surprise for you, and it was grandma. And y'all don't know this about me, but I cry very easily, and a few tears dropped for that moment. I thought it was very sweet of Ray J, and it was reunited, and it feels so good, and it was great. For the first time, I really saw like a good side of Ray J, and the problem with that is that he doesn't stay that way throughout this episode. So we try to like Ray J, we try to be on the same page with Ray J. Ray J is always joking a little too much for me, but yeah, and then he just screws it up towards, later on in the episode, but whatever. Moving on. Next, they have the scene with Fizz and Willie, and Fizz is in the studio sounding like everybody else, and Willie is embarrassed about the whole situation about him cheating on his wife, and he decides to tell Fizz about it. And I know I'm not the only one who feels like Fizz is consistently lying. Fizz is consistently lying about his involvement with Kaisha, is that her name? Kaisha. So he says it only happened one time, and I'm like 100% sure that that is not true. I mean, even though that one time was in, you know, December, it can't be just one time. I just don't believe that. But I don't know why he's asking Fizz for advice. But compared to some of the other dudes that are on the show, I guess Fizz would probably be the best bet as opposed to, you know, Ray J, definitely, as opposed to Safari, Soulja Boy. So, you know, Fizz is unfortunately the best choice to talk to, I guess. And so I felt it was interesting the way that he said that the kids were being affected by his and Shauna's disconnection. Why, I don't know why I want to call her Shauna, it's Shonda. Their disconnection, them not kissing or hugging anymore. And it's like, you know, kissing and hugging isn't the only, you know, way to be connected or feel connected or appear connected to, you know, your spouse. Showing affection is great, but it's about commitment and the love that you share for that person. And the reason that y'all aren't physically connected is because Shonda is mentally disconnected from you because your commitment to her was not where it was supposed to be. So anyways, it's unfortunate that he thinks that he can patch up such a major screw up with such minor effort. Like the little dinner in the backyard would have been nice had he not been screwing up, but you know, Shonda saw right through that, which I'm glad she did. Because it was an apology dinner and he was trying to break the ice, and he said that he had been in her shoes 1,000 times, and there's no way he's been in her shoes 1,000 times, because if he really had put himself in her shoes, it would have been a much grander gesture to try to get back, and he wouldn't have done that in the first place. So anyways, I'm glad Shonda saw through it, but this was the first time in, you know, this season that I actually felt bad for Willie, just a little bit, because she just wasn't having it. And you can tell that he really wasn't used to her like ignoring his attempts to get back in her good graces. And eventually we see him crying and packing up and moving on out of the house and leaving with Fizz, which I think is a bad idea. It's a real bad idea. I mean, it's like, it's twofold. I mean, it's like, Willie, why don't you have a car? And why are you leaving with a single man? And I feel like that spells trouble, because if he doesn't watch himself, he'll allow like hanging out with this single person to give him the idea that he's single and to start living like a single person, kind of like Kirk, Rashida's husband, and all that mess in the hot tubs and all that stuff. So I don't know about that. But next, we'll talk about Moniece and Masika. Moniece is one of those people I try real hard to like, but it just doesn't really work out. I will say that her song sounded okay. Like, her song seemed pretty good. And like I said, I try to like Moniece, but she just is very petty and unforgiving and doesn't know how to let things go. And she has like some real growing up to do. So I can't deal with her sometimes. So it's not surprising to any of us that Brandi has been arrested for climbing through somebody's window. That's not surprising at all, you know, because we have seen Brandi's behavior. When they first came on the show last season, they talked about the things that she has done about climbing in the trunks. Her and Nikki popped up at the studio. I mean, the way she was on Masika in the studio as well, it's not surprising to us. So I don't know why Moniece would waste her time, waste the event, waste her energy on trying to embarrass somebody about something that, one, is not surprising, and two, has absolutely nothing to do with Moniece. And that's why I can't deal with Moniece. I think she's a very beautiful girl. I think that she could be very talented. The problem is that she's just too petty. And if she could focus on Moniece and let all the Instagram and Twitter stuff that goes on in the background that I don't really keep up with, let all that stuff go and don't really let it bother her. I mean, if she could act towards all of their Twitter beef and stuff the same way she acts whenever Princess trying to run up, then you know Moniece would be much farther along in her career, I think. So anyways, I don't understand why she would sacrifice her own success at the expense of somebody else. And the fact that she even said out of her mouth that she wanted to mess up their marriage, you don't play with those types of institutions. You don't do that. So I just can't. But next we'll talk about the little scene with Brandi and Princess. And I will say Brandi and Princess are like two of the lamest people on this show. None of the little jokes and quips that they made about Moniece or Masika, if they made any jokes about Masika, none of those jokes were funny. Princess was laughing for like no reason, and that stuff was cool. I really didn't understand that, and I really don't think that Brandi should have taken Princess up on that offer to go to this event. I mean, they know they don't like her. They know that Moniece is not a grown-up, and that Moniece was going to be on some high school stuff. So yeah, they just shouldn't have shown up, because doing stuff like that gives people power. I mean, what would have happened had they not shown up? If they hadn't have shown up, it wouldn't have made any sense for Moniece to try to embarrass Brandi. Moniece would have went on about her, you know, event, promoting her song, and not appearing petty and not prolonging their disagreement and their argument. And also, you know, Brandi and Princess wouldn't have been bothered at all. So I really don't think Brandi should have let Princess gas her head up about that, because Princess is still mad about that stuff about Moniece saying that she slept with Ray J, which is definitely true. Both of them admitted it was true, but who cares? Everybody has slept with Ray J, including most of the women on Love and Hip Hop. I mean, come on, whatever. So anyways, so I think that Brandi and Princess are super corny, and let's just move on from them and talk about the actual listening party or event. So I really wish Moniece would get a life. She really needs one. And here's the one thing that I will say that a lot of people on a lot of reality TV shows do, and I think people really do in real life, is I don't make my friends' issues my issues. If one of my friends has an issue with somebody, that's between them. Like, taking on somebody else's issues as my own only adds stress and discord to my own life. So like I was saying, Princess just wanted another excuse to get actively back into it with Moniece. Because Moniece came for Brandi does not mean that you as Brandi's friend need to try to, you know, rush the stage to get to Moniece and fight her for the second time this season. Princess was just looking for another reason to be mad at Moniece, and like I said, it really didn't have anything to do with Princess this time around. And the same way that Brandi was all on Masika about something that Masika supposedly had done to Brandi's friend, don't make your friend's business yours. The same way last season Brandi threw a drink in Jason Lee's face because he had thrown a drink in Hazel E's face. Like, that don't have nothing to do with you, so why are you getting involved? I mean, sure, it was despicable that Jason Lee would do something like that, but that don't have nothing to do with you. That wasn't on you to seek retribution, none of that. So I think that's a lesson that everybody can learn. Unless somebody is getting jumped, I'll jump in to help get rid of, you know, all the tension or whatever, and, you know, make peace and break the fight up. I'll definitely do that. Or unless it's a family member or a significant other, somebody that I'm very, very close to. But besides that, I'm not gonna get involved in anything really. And I was happy to see that Brandi did not explode the way that she exploded at Mommies and Mimosas in one of the earlier episodes. But that could be for multiple reasons. Like, the first one could be that she was so shocked and surprised that she was caught off guard. The second thing could be that it was true and she was embarrassed by it. And the third thing could be that Princess popped off so much that Brandi popping off wouldn't make no sense. So I do like what Brandi said, and she was like, your facts are wrong, just like your voice is wrong. Which is funny to me. Moniece can sing, but I thought that was probably the most clever thing that, the most clever insult that Brandi has ever said on the show entirely. But I was with Masika. I mean, the whole time that Masika and Moniece were face to face having this conversation, Masika expressed that she didn't understand what Moniece was getting out of this, but it was more clear in the confessionals that she was against it. And I really wish that in person with Moniece she would have gone as hard against this idea of trying to embarrass Brandi as she did with her in person. I really wish that she would have done that, because as a real friend, I'm trying to figure out why none of these people on these shows are a real friend, to the point where if somebody tells you, hey, I'm about to do this, this, and this, if you don't tell them that that's a bad idea, like, I don't understand. Because the same thing happened with A1. A1 was there when Ray J gave Safari the advice to ask for a threesome. A1 in the confessional knew that because of Safari's personality, he wasn't going to be able to pull that off. And instead of saying, hey, that was a bad idea, he just didn't say anything really. And, you know, Safari ended up looking like a fool. So I don't understand why Masika didn't push the fact a little bit harder that, hey, this is not a good idea. This is not going to end the feuding with you all. It's going to fuel the fire. And, you know, it's not a real good idea. Let this listening party be about you instead of, you know, embarrassing somebody else. But I think, you know, on one hand, somebody's going to do whatever they want to do regardless. But by you not saying anything, sometimes it can make people look foolish. And in that case, everybody ended up coming out worse. So, you know, if you have a friend that's about to do something that's really not a good idea, you know, tell them. People on this show don't do it, but, you know, tell them. It makes for good television for people to make fools of themselves. So I guess that's why they don't tell each other the truth. So next we're going to talk about Nikki Baby. So Nikki Baby is a scrub. She's she's having scrub tendencies where she's cheating on somebody else. So she's cheating. She has two people that think that they are exclusive with her. So I define that as cheating. Her excuse to both of them is that they did not define their relationship as exclusive and they were not exclusively dating each other. But then if Safari goes to Miami and messes with somebody else, then Nikki has a problem with it. Why? Why do you have a problem with it if y'all were not together? Like, you can't use something as an excuse in your own situation, and then when the shoe is on the other foot, that doesn't apply anymore. So Nikki just annoys me. I think she had a lot of nerve to even be mad at something like that. And while they didn't state the time frame, which makes it a little confusing for me, if Nikki and Safari were dating at the time he went to Miami and supposedly messed with this other girl, I think that that part was that part would have made it make more sense as far as the timeline goes. Because for whatever reason, when I first watched the episode, I thought, well, if y'all had, you know, this spat and he had already found out about Rosa Acosta, then, you know, why is him going off sleeping with somebody else an issue? And it shouldn't have been an issue anyway, because if she can do it, then he can do it too. But the point is that she is petty, and she shouldn't have talked with that person who claimed that she slept with Safari, and she said that she was good at playing games, and apparently she's the best. So yeah. So, and like I said, what's the girl's name? Lyrica was there, And like I said, these so-called friends don't tell each other when things are a bad idea, because Lyrica didn't say anything. Lyrica didn't say a word about how meeting up with this girl would be a bad idea. So whatever. So the next scene, they have the guys doing a tasting of some drinks for the wedding, which, like I said, Ray J has really stepped up in the wedding department as far as being involved and him having this responsibility of choosing the drinks. And on top of that, still not drinking, which is something that he and Princess are doing together, and getting his other friends to help him. That's wonderful. So I applaud him on that. Right before I say this, Ray J is still a slime ball underneath his fiance exterior. I mean, I finally figured it out, is that he's living his skis days vicariously through Safari, because Safari is not tied down to a fiance. He's single, he can do whatever he wants. So Ray J is just living through Safari and giving him bad advice, that Ray J himself might have taken. And overall, I'll say it's bad advice, but for somebody who has the reputation and the personality of Ray J, it would work for Ray J. But it's not going to work for Safari. And Ray J doesn't know how to tailor his advice to fit different people and different personalities. And I will say I like A1 the most. He's the one who has the most sense. I just wish that he would state his opinion louder, because he knows that these, ideas are bad, and I really wish he would tell Safari. But anyway, does anybody else think that A1 looks like Jason Weaver? And Jason Weaver was on, he was the older brother on Smart Guy. He was also in Drumline. He also sang the chorus of One Call Away with Chingy. So I think he looks a lot like him, except A1 has a lighter skin tone. But anyways, if anybody agrees, put it down below in the comments. And I really don't think anybody should listen to Ray J's advice, because it's like covered in slime, because he's the slime ball. But also, why does no one know that I want it all is 4 words instead of 3? Nobody knows that. And I thought that Ray J was joking, because there's a lot of sitcoms that have the thing where somebody's listening to someone who's in a remote location, telling them what to say. There was, I think, an episode of Sister Sister where the speakers were in the salt and pepper shakers, and there was a guy who had a makeover who liked Tia but was really in love with Tamara or whatever. I don't know if y'all remember that, but if you do, put it below in the comment section. There's been a lot of sitcoms that have that type of thing for at least one episode. I thought Ray J was joking, but Safari, who really don't have a mind of his own, unfortunately, took him seriously. So yeah, now we get to the point where Safari is ready to sit down with Nikki Baby, and Ray J already is giving him like really bad advice, like telling him to be like disrespectful to Nikki, like you got me effed up. Like that's not how Safari talks. And Soulja Boy and Ray J are just cracking up, and Nikki Baby is like, you don't talk to me like that. And let's keep it real, you don't really talk to anybody like that. And that's not the way that you do things. So that was messed up, but whatever. So yeah, so he was too aggressive off the bat, and it was interesting to me, like I said, for the purposes of this video, we assume that everything in here is real. But what I thought was funny was that he would deliberately say that if you and I were together, I would never, when I went on tour or went out of town, I would never do something against you, because when I'm in, I'm all in. And for him to say that was like a perfect segue for her to bring this person out. And that to me seemed very scripted. That was like too much of a perfect segue. So anyways, I think that Nikki has the unmitigated gall to mess around on Safari with somebody else, get caught doing it, say that we weren't together, and then bring out somebody else who supposedly was messing around with Safari, and someone who definitely was not his type body wise, and as far as sexuality and gender identity goes, probably wasn't his type either. Now, initially I thought that this person's voice was very deep, like naturally, but after watching some other reviews, some people think that this person's voice was distorted, which to me seems pretty likely. The face was totally blurred out, like we couldn't see anything in the face or neck region, but Safari said you look weird. And I will say this is what I will say is that transgender people are not tools to be used to embarrass people, because we all know that there are celebrities whose reputation has taken a hit for being involved with transgender people. And you know, if you want to sleep with transgender people, if that's your thing, that for you is nothing to be ashamed of. But for someone to try to use a trans person to try to embarrass somebody the way that Nikki did, if that person was indeed transgender, then that, you know, is a shame. And it's like, you know, like I said, trans people are not tools to be used to embarrass somebody, because, you know, they're people too. And like I said, we've all known people whose reputation has taken a hit because of their involvement with trans people, and it's just not right. So I think it was a good idea to do the voice distortion and to blur out the face, because this person doesn't need to get any shine for allowing themselves to be used to try to embarrass somebody. And if that really was the case, if this really was a trans person, then it's a shame. But I think they did a good job by you know, not giving that person any shine. So like I said, that person is probably not Safari's type. Safari has been involved with Nicki Minaj. I've seen him on an episode of K Michelle's show trying to get with her, and now Nikki Baby. And you know, they all have the huge plastic butt thing going on, and this person that they brought on doesn't have any of the features that we would expect Safari to be interested in. And I think he was very classy in the way that he dealt with the situation. He wasn't having it, and he was like, when you're done playing games, just let me know. And Nikki had the nerve to say she wasn't playing games, knowing that she was playing games. So anyways, but Safari, I didn't like the way that he kind of opened up the door. He left the door open for her to be like, hey, whenever I stop playing games, hey, I'm back in your life. Like, he left the door open for that. Like, if somebody did what Nikki did to me, they would be written off right away, you know. And for her to do this on top of what she already did to me, on top of, you know, lying about being involved with somebody else, she would definitely be dead to me. But he's like, oh, when she's off her BS, you know, she has my number. No, you don't have my number. After all of that, you do not have my number. Lose it. So that part I didn't understand, but the episode was entertaining enough. But the next episode is going to be even more entertaining, because Lyrica Senior has the unmitigated gall to ask for them to pay for liposuction. And it's like, shame on you. Shame on you. I should not have to pay you to have peace in our family. That's not how that works. Another thing in the next episode that's coming up, oh, I like that A1 gave her a waist trainer. I thought that was very funny. And I'm really not feeling Jason Lee, and I'm really not feeling Princess or Brandi about the whole sex tape thing. Like, why do you care? And whatever. But thanks you guys for watching. My name is Kiara. This is Home Slice Adulting. Like, share, comment, follow me on social media. All the information will be in the description bar. Thank you very much, and you all have a great day. Peace out.